Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Are you ready to thrive? It is time to take action. Hello, everyone. This is Jen, and you are listening to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. What is the result of thriving? Body confidence, mind fulfillment, and soul synchronicity. Tune in to hear about these elements and the scientifically and spiritually proven action steps to stand in confidence, love from within, be unstoppable in fulfilling your dreams, and create synchronicity so you can flow toward abundance and love. Hear real stories that will inspire you to take action today and be a catalyst for positive change in this world through creating your own Thrive life. Let's do this. Feel empowered and ignite your soul with Thrive by Jen Radio starting now. Hey, welcome. Happy Monday. Welcome to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. As always, I am super excited to be here and talk to you about today's topic and honestly, some big announcements. So today's topic came up because I always like to bring something personal. And today's topic is about when we compromise our values, what happens. And we'll talk about what a value is and developing our values and establishing our values and living them and bringing them into our life. And what has been so interesting for me is that ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be in ministry. And I wanted to be in the church. I wanted to work for God. I wanted to represent God. And I ignored it. I ignored it in every career that I've done. And finally, a few years ago, the calling became so strong. And I realized that by not following what I really wanted to do, what I believed that I was meant to do, it was taking a toll on me. It was affecting me emotionally. It was affecting my behavior, my actions, my thoughts. I wasn't settled. And it was always a little beating pulse inside of me that I felt compelled to do it. So a few years ago, I decided to pursue it, and I went back to school and to get my ministry degree. And last October, I was officially ordained as a minister and started slowly working on what the ministry would be and what it would look like. And kind of behind the scenes, and that's what I've been working on. But for me, it was also a lifestyle. It was changing my life. It was, it's not living perfectly. I have a lot of work to do. However, I made a commitment to live for God and to represent God and to be His hands and feet here on this earth. And I've slowly been letting Him show me what that's going to look like and what the ministry, because it's really His ministry, He's just using me, and what that ministry will look like. And what has happened is that there's been a clash of values for me. My values have changed and are changing. And as well as those values, who I am and who I share with you, I share that with you, and I share that with my clients, with my actions, my behavior, my social media. I always give that to you guys. And so lately, because I've been focused so much on the ministry and becoming who that person is, my values have been clashing for my show here, because I'm sure many of you have noticed that I definitely talk more about God. And when I started this show, I was still in health and wellness, and the whole body, mind, and soul connection for me has been so important, and it still is important. And even more so now that I fully understand from a spiritual perspective, about our bodies and about our souls, and how our mind plays into that and where it fits. And so I want to still give that to you, but it's so important for me to give that to you from God's perspective, from a biblical perspective, versus, sometimes you'll hear now, I believe that religion has made people divided. I believe religion has made people uncomfortable. It's become a political arena. So some of the words that you hear that people are more comfortable with are universe, new age, spirituality, talking more about a feeling versus a being, where my training and my belief, my training supports my beliefs, is that there's, a person, a live God, that I serve. And so what's been happening is I really have been, when I write my shows, I really have been divided, and I've been conflicted, because I was really trying to make other people feel comfortable versus just being strong in my values and standing in my values. And now, granted, I was making a transition, but I wanted to share with you today about what that does for a person and how it conflicted me, and really it spilled over into my life, because it was, right, it's a duality. It's, I'm trying to, we're growing, and what I'd like to say is that people will put you in a compartment or a category, and they know you as someone. And what I want for all of you, like what's happened with me, is I'm always evolving. I'm always growing into who I was created to be. God created me to be someone, and who he established, who he had in mind. It's my free will choices that have possibly changed that. There are choices that I've made that were my own doing, that they were my free will. And it either took me off the path, right? It detoured me some bit, or it kept me on the path to who I was to become. So, but along the way, people will come and go out of your life. And when people come and go, or even friends that stay, or relatives, this happens a lot with relatives, they have a hard time. They know you as someone, and they have a hard time accepting who you're becoming. So there's conflict to deal with, and there's change, right? A lot of people have a hard time with change. And so I thought it was so important for me to share this with you. This is going to be one of the last shows as Thrive by Jen, because it's time now for me to move into who I am as a, I don't want to put myself in a category as far as calling myself a pastor or a minister, but it's now I've made a decision to work for God, and I'm letting that unfold as to what that is going to look like. And so it's, for me, it's a new role, and I'm growing into who my next phase is. And it's been amazing, and it's been wonderful. And so for the next few weeks, we're going to show after this show, we'll show some reruns of previous shows. While behind the scenes, we are going to rebrand and reestablish the show in the ministry, and to see what that looks like. And it's been amazing, because when I decided to follow my calling and slowly and know that I wanted to be in ministry. And what does that mean? So ministry is about sharing. It's about sharing what God has left for us, what he's taught us, what he's given us through the Bible. And that's what ministry is. So it's right now, my calling is not to be in a pulpit It's to be more about radio and TV and online programs that we're developing behind the scenes about helping people in their identity as a Christian. And so it's been amazing to let all the pieces fall into place. I've also have learned tremendous patience because it has been on his time, not my timeline, which my timeline moves a lot faster. So it's been incredible. It's been an incredible teaching, right? I've spoken a lot to you about trials and tribulations and what happens in those trials and tribulations or obstacles, right? It doesn't have to be an all-out, sorrowful, tragic event that has happened to you to call it a trial and tribulation. It could simply be about, objections that are in your way, obstacles that are in your way. Those are all opportunities for us to be taught, for us to be refined. And that's what's been happening to me. So it's definitely been on his timeline, not on mine. But I noticed that for the past, 6 weeks that I've been feeling more and more conflict as I've developed my shows and pieced them together, because I was in that dual identity. I was moving into my representative role for God. And I was, a good way to describe it is, we talk about being of the world and being in the world. And so of the world is following the crowd. It's kind of doing what the crowd does. And being in the world is when, as a Christian, you're following your beliefs. You're following what God has laid out as the path. So I noticed, and part of what I want to share with you today is that if you're finding that, if you are experiencing that in your life, you need to take a step back and really look at if your values have changed. You're developing into being a new person. You're developing, you're growing, you're evolving. And that's so good. That's so great. I hear so many times people, I don't know, like they stay the same. They think that they're the same person that they were when they were 25, but they talk about as if they were 25. It's like as if those circumstances have moved with you, but circumstances have changed you. Life has changed you. Events have changed you. People have changed you. You've changed careers. Maybe it's just, there's so many experiences that we go through that help you grow into this new person. You might have the same name, but you're so different. And for me, a lot of that stems from our values and what we take on then into our new identity. So when we get back, we're going to kick this off. And I'm so excited to share this with you because it's been, this is a new experience for me. This is, like a continuation. I don't want to say a new journey because I feel like life is one continuous journey. And, but I'm so looking forward to when we come back in September, being under the ministry and then, sharing with you what I've been called to do. So you're listening to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio.
Is traditional medicine not working for you? Do you still feel as if your health isn't 100%? Here at the Holistic Medical Center, Dr. Nushin Darvish and the qualified staff look through the dimensions of wellness and start a healing plan prioritized to your needs. Our physicians assess the whole you until complete health is achieved. Get the help you need by visiting drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
Have you ever wondered how you might feel differently if the books were full of her instead of him? What if your history lesson was filled with powerful women leaders and rulers? As a woman, would you feel more empowered? As a man, would you see women differently? I'm Megan Edge. I'd love for you to join me on my radio show, Playing on the Edge, Radical Change with Ease, with my co-host, Dr. Pat. on Transformation Talk Radio. I hope to see you there.
To find answers to life's questions, you need to look within yourself. Dr. Glenna Rice brings your questionable conversations on Transformation Talk Radio each month. Tune in each month for insight into how you can live up to your full potential. Dr. Glenna is a physical therapist, certified Access Consciousness, and Access Body Class facilitator. How does it get any better than this? For more information on Dr. Glenna Rice and her work, visit glennarice.com.
Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Steffen each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This hit show will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. Visit TheTruthIsFunny.com.
Choose the new earth on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio as Cornelia takes listeners on an odyssey of higher consciousness to inspire, educate, and empower. Cornelia guides people on the path of self-healing, peace, and liberation. The Cornelia Stephanie Show is your catalyst for anchoring heaven on earth on a global scale. For more information, go to CorneliaStephanie.com.
Dream on, fly high, and live adventurously on The Laura Meeks Show. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio as host Laura Meeks guides you in finding your unique gifts and bringing them to life. As a certified life coach, speaker, and veteran bomber pilot for the U.S. Air Force, Laura knows how to follow a dream. She is ready to support you so you can dream on, fly high, and live adventurously. For more information on Laura and her work, visit flyhighliving.com.
Hey, welcome back to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. So let's talk about values. We'll talk about values in our life. And I want to first explain values are beliefs, right, that you feel are important. The way that you live your life, the way that it's values impact everything. Values, it's you choose jobs based on your values. You have a family or not have a family based on values. You behave based on values. Your health is based on values. Values they're your beliefs that you feel are important in the ways that you live your life, the way that you act, the way that you conduct yourself, the words that you use, it's everything. And so they serve so many important purposes. Values help us set goals. So for instance, let's say your top 5 values are, God, your spouse, your family, your health, and service. You're going to start to establish your day based on those values. And what I've experienced with clients in the past is when I coach with somebody, establishing our values is one of the very first things that we do. Because if you don't know part of who you are or what you believe, you're to me it's a guidance system, right? It's like I've called it a North Star, so to speak. It's how we function. It's how we start, go through our day, how we act, again, what job we hold, what church we belong to, what we do in the church, so many things, how we discipline our children. So there's so many important roles that values play. So it's very important to know what your values are. And it's also important, I always say to my clients, and I do it myself, is you have to evaluate your values every few months and look at that, because we're changing, we evolve. And again, we learn from what we do, our goals, we learn from what we achieve, we learn from circumstances that we experience. So knowing what those values are so important. And also they serve as values serve as a way to have that North Star. Like, what are you looking forward to? Where are you going? Right. And then you set those goals. It's also important if you're a married couple, it's to do your values. And I'll talk to you about setting your values, discovering your values, setting those values as individuals, and then coming together as a married couple with your own set of values as a family. And because, it's interesting, you think you know what someone is, what their goals are, right? What they're looking forward to do or what they're growing into. And if you don't know their values, if you don't, and God is a great example of, or children, right? If you want to have children and maybe, and you're talking with somebody who also wants to have children, but at a different time than you do, although all these things are important for us to know as individuals and as couples, as families, it's our North Star, right? It's where we're going. It's what we're growing into. So setting the values and knowing them and checking in with your value system is so important to do. So this is what happens, and what I find has happened, and what was happening with me, is that we are so easily distracted, especially in the society that we are today, so easily distracted. And it's so easy for us to fall into the trap of living by different values daily if we don't have them clearly defined. And the greatest example of this is health, right? If you're saying that health is a value of yours, you're giving it a priority. Your values put in a priority list for your life. And so let's say that you say to me, if I said to you, hey, name me one of your values, and you say my health is a value. And I say, okay, and then show me where nutrition is in your life. Show me where exercise is in your life. And what happens is that you might do your best to fit in nutrition, or you might do your best to fit in exercise, but then really it's not a true value for you. It's not on your top 5, because it's about right? It's about having that as a priority, and therefore your day is structured based around those values. So another example is God is my number one value. And so my day revolves around getting that time with him. Same thing with health. Health has always been one of my top values. And so again, too, when I do my schedule for the week, my workouts are always in there. My nutrition is always in there. And so again, right, it's about how are you functioning? What are you doing? What are you focused on? And so so values are so important for fitting in those priorities for your life. Another thing too that values too is it's about time, right? Time is our greatest commodity. And so your time, when you have your values defined and focused, that's where your time goes. And so again, too, working on distractions is that if it's not established, if those values aren't established, where are you spending your time? I always heard it with working out. I just didn't have the time this week, that it got away from me. The week got away from me. Same thing with eating. The week got away from me, and there wasn't time to plan out better meals. And so that's what starts to happen with not knowing our values. Same thing with God and with spirituality is that it's about making the time. It's about taking those blocks of time and putting it in a focus and having that focused. The other thing that values do is values tell us so much about ourselves and so much about others. Is that, a great, if friends and family members, even I do it with my siblings, all of you should list out your top 5 values and see what they are. See, it shares a lot about and it's not good or bad. This is about learning about someone, about, experiencing it with somebody. You might have somebody where, a value for them is like my brother is a great example. He has to have adventure. Like that is a core value for him. So he's constantly, on weekends disappearing and going on these crazy trips, right? Adventure seeking, where it just wouldn't even come into my equation of life. And so, but that's an important value for him. That's an important part of who he is. So it's a really great, it's so awesome to sit and see your values and how you fit them into your life. And that's why too, it's, as we grow and as we evolve, it's such a wonderful thing for us to do often, to look at them like every 6 months or so, because you're changing, you're evolving, and you want to partake in life. I mean, this is what this experience has taught me, is that when I was going through creating the shows over the past 6 weeks, and when I noticed that my values had changed, but my behavior wasn't catching up to them, it's that I was off. I was unsettled. And so it's about living. It's part of living presently. It's part of acknowledging that you feel different, that you're not acting yourself, and you feel like I felt off center. I felt disconnected. And so, reevaluating your values and seeing what has changed. And then you can make adjustments in your behavior, in your priority list, in your daily activity. So values they're so important. They're so important. We're going to take our next break, because when we get back, what I want to do is I want to take you through identifying your values. And I also want to talk about when we don't do this, what happens. There are consequences that we see. And when I say a consequence, right, when we have an action, there's a reaction, right? When we do something, there's going to be a result. And we put so much emphasis on, and I've done it here. Like I've talked about, you can make all the vision boards you want, but we need action. We have to do an action. And this is part of action. And this is part of moving us into where we want to go and where we're going. So let's take a quick short break. We get back, we're going to dive right back in. You're listening to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio.
Golden Otter Divinations Radio, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream with Autumn Seibel. Tune in the first Friday every month at 9 a.m. Pacific as Autumn, educator, health coach, and medium, explores metaphysical and mainstream strategies on how to elevate your level of conscious living. Draw in the abundance that is yours by divine right. For more information about working with Autumn, visit goldenotter.us. That's golden like the precious metal and otter like the precious animal.us.
Choose the new earth on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio as Cornelia takes listeners on an odyssey of higher consciousness to inspire, educate, and empower. Cornelia guides people on the path of self-healing, peace, and liberation. The Cornelia Stephanie Show is your catalyst for anchoring heaven on earth on a global scale. For more information, go to corneliastephanie.com.
What is holding you back from living the life you are meant to live? Why is it vital to believe in something bigger than yourself? Are you in physical or emotional pain? Tune in monthly to Vibrant Purposeful Living. Awaken the vibrant life within you with Lou Paradise and Dr. Pat on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Lou's passion is to help everyone experience positive solutions for life. Find out more about Lou with Vibrant Purposeful Living at LouParadise.com.
Living Lighter Radio with Jason and Patricia. We have an ecosystem approach to your life. Tune in weekly every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio as we, Jason and Patricia, discuss what's truly holding you back. We offer you the tools you need to reach your goals and at the same time be living lighter. For more information about Living Lighter, visit www.livinglighter.org.
Despite all efforts, is your pursuit of emotional freedom not going so well? Are you still stressed and anxious? It must be getting harder and harder to work on these issues. Meet Dr. Friedman. His breakthrough seminar may be the solution you have been looking for. It provides you with the insights and tools to reopen lines of inner communication, address deeper subconscious roots of your challenges, and discover how self-compassion can truly quiet your fear.
What medicine and research taught me is that we have all unlimited potential to heal, grow, and thrive.
So learn more at drfriedman.com. That's drfriedman.com. And tune in to Dr. Friedman's Empowerment Radio every first and third Thursday at 9 a.m. for even more ways to live your life with courage, integrity, and trust in your own counsel.
Hey, welcome back to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. All right, so let's talk about identifying your values. So first, you're going to ask yourself, what is truly important to me? And then write it down. So the goal for this exercise is to extract the value out of the sentence. So for example, I want to get married and have 3 kids. The value is family. Right? I want to serve the Lord. The value is God. I want to go on 5 trips a year. The value is adventure. I want to volunteer monthly. The value is service. There are hundreds of values. And so, I have made suggestions to clients in the past that literally if you Google values, if you Google a values list, hundreds will come up, and it's a great place to start because it starts to stimulate a conversation within yourself about what's important, what is really important to you. And then you can even, when I work with my clients, we even take it a step further as far as dialing down our values. So if we stayed with this example, and it's too much to talk about for this show, but for instance, I want to get married and have 3 kids falls under family, but then you could drill that down, right? So what does the family unit look like for you as far as, discipline and raising them and schooling for your children and things like that. Same thing with, I want to serve the Lord. And then, so the value is God, but what does that look like? And I'll give you an example in a bit as far as my daily activities go, because again, too, it's interesting because part of my calling that I'm getting for the ministry, and it was interesting because part of the calling that I'm getting for my ministry is about an action-based ministry. So sharing with you actions to do about you growing your relationship with Jesus. And what's interesting about that is that I've been coaching a long time, and I've always been an action-based person. I've always wanted to know, I was always interested in evolving. And that's what I did with my clients, is that I was always, we can talk about our values, but are we really living them? Are we doing action? And same thing with working out, is that we can make that vision and that goal for running a marathon or losing 20 pounds. But what's our action that we're doing? And to focus on the action and implement that action in our lives. And then that way, it's what happens with life, right? It's like little bit at a time, inch by inch, it's cinch. And so you're taking step by step by step, implementing this in your life, and evolution happens. You're evolving, you're changing, you're growing, your heart is expanding, your beliefs are changing. And so you're becoming this new person, right? You're constantly growing. So what I share with everybody is I always say to pick your most important 15. So prioritize the 15, and then you start with one and go from there. So for me, if you get to the point where you struggle with two that are very close in priority, but you don't know if one should be a 12 or one should be a 15, then ask yourself a scenario using the two values. So for example, you want success and you want adventure. Okay. So then here are some questions to ask yourself. If I'm successful, then I can go on lots of trips each year, right? So maybe success is coming in higher here. But then you say to yourself, right? And this is how you start drilling down, and you start taking a very active role in your life. If I'm working a lot, right? If part of the success means many hours at work, then I won't get to go on as many trips as I thought, right? And then you start to realize, well, that's truly an issue. So then adventure is coming in slightly higher here. And I'll give you a real life example with my brother, is that he has chosen a career that affords him money and time. So he can go on his adventures and have the time to do so, but also have the funds to do so. But for him, right, it took a toll on his family value, right? He really never has yet to have the opportunity to settle down and be married. And even though that was a value that he wanted. And so again, it's about helping us prioritize and pick and choose and experience life, right? And same thing, right? If I'm successful, then maybe I can structure my schedule to work in such a way where I can grab more time off, right? Than that I think is possible. And so maybe it's 3 trips a year instead of 5. But again, the point of this is for us to have action and know what's going on in our life. Not just, I don't know, I lost a lot of time when I sat on my calling for so long. And I didn't always have this structure of living, of experiencing life like I do now. So, I mean, my values were to be a good person, to treat others kindly, right? To be respectful. But what does that mean? What does that look like? And this is my point of this exercise with you in this conversation is bring those wants into your life and those characteristics into your daily living. Let's live this out. If a priority to you is to be a good person, well, what does that look like? What does that mean to you? And again, right? Turn those sentences into these values, and then we're going to take those values and put them into action. So after you have this list, and this is a really wonderful eye-opening experience, is that I want you to look at your list. And now I want you to take an inventory of your life. And this is what was happening with me, is that, so my value of God, right? My value, my highest priority was God. And then as I was drilling down and creating action steps and what that looked like, that's when I started having conflict with my show, is that because I was focused on meshing my worlds, right? I was in transition, but I noticed that my actions I wanted to live my actions, and and that wasn't happening. And so I started having that conflict. And that's what I mean by take an inventory of your life, right? do explore your values. Do your values match up with your actions? Do your values match up with your behaviors and your beliefs, right? These values are your guidance system. Are you going where you want to go, right? So it's a way for you to, when you take that inventory, it's just so eye-opening, because you start to see that you say your value is health, and it really is so important to you, but yet you let your work schedule take over. And I want to say this to you too, because I've experienced it, and I'll only speak for myself, but I hope this resonates with somebody, and it's a little bit of I feel like somebody needs to hear this, is that it's an excuse, right? When we let our values go, we tend to justify, and justification is an excuse. We tend to justify, well, my boss doesn't let me out of the office, or I have to go to work, or I have to do this. Look, there are absolutely situations where possibly if you didn't show up for work, you'd be fired. Or if you didn't do this, there would be a severe consequence. But you really need to start taking inventory of your life and looking at those justifications. If you're just letting life pass you by, if you're not taking an active role in your life, that's a justification. That's an excuse. And and you can feel I've seen it for years. I've seen it in my coaching. I've seen it in owning gyms, is that when we take an active role in our life, if you don't, you start to feel unbalanced. You start to feel drained. You just don't have that energy. You just don't have, that desire to really live with passion. I think we get a little confused about, people are like, well, you have to live your passion. If you're passionate about something, you should do it. And I do believe that. I mean, I'm seeing it now from the calling that I have for the ministry, but you can be passionate in life and just and have that passion pour over it. That's a feeling. That's an emotion. That's a mindset. That's a being. You could be passionate and live passionately and have a very boring job, or have this is, we want stimulation, and it's just, that's not what it's about. And so look at take that inventory of your life, and then you'll start to see, are you living out your values, or are you just letting life pass you by? We're going to take our last break. When we get back, we're going to finish this up. You're listening to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, I'm Laura Meeks, and the most common problem that my clients face is all work and no play. This is why I created Fly High Living. I help you develop a balanced life plan and guide you to a place where you love to wake up in the morning.
Call 888-666-1570 or go to flyhighliving.com to sign up for the 4-week Flight Plan for Life course.
Calling all moms, it's time to awaken your vibrant, intuitive, loving self in every area of your life. Join host Debbie Pokornik as she shares thoughts, stories, and tools to help you stand in your power. Listen to Vibrant, Powerful Moms, helping everyday women create extraordinary lives. Mondays at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. For more information about Debbie, visit empoweringenergy.com. That's empowering with letters NRG.com.
Have you lost a loved one and would desperately love a sign to prove that they are okay? Here's a tip for you. Be curious. Keep an open mind about everything. The proof will come from the most unlikely places. The messages promise to challenge your current beliefs and what you've been taught. Accept and appreciate all, no matter where they come from. I'm Angie Corbett Kuiper. I would love for you to share your signs from beyond on my closed Facebook page, Beyond Grief.
What is a brilliant culture, and how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you align your culture with your business strategy for exceptional results. Looking for a culture that drives organizational excellence? Listen to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit culturalbrilliance.com.
Sometimes being human has its challenges. Our physical health falters, our spirits sag, our dreams don't immediately come to fruition. Welcome to the power of Maximum Medicine Radio. Join me, Doc Martin, in conversations that will blow your mind about healing. In our hit show, Doc Martin addresses the scientific with bridging to the mystical approaches to give you a new narrative about maximum medicine. In this live call-in show, we will journey into the extraordinary genius of the human body and talk about other beliefs that impact being your multidimensional self. We seek the seen and the unseen and explore the earthbound and the otherworldly, all with the purpose of calling forth the maximum you. To learn more about Doc Martin and Maximum Medicine, visit www.SharonMartinMD.com.
Hey, welcome back to Thrive by Jen Radio and Transformation Talk Radio. All right, we're in our last segment, and I have a terrible habit of running out of time and having so much more to share with you. So, okay, we have our top 5. So now this is the next step that I want you to do, because this will help you develop your action steps. Because everyone, a common question that I get a lot is, okay, Jen, what do I do now? What's next, right? How do I make this happen? So I want to use my example. Let me use my example of the value of God. So then what I do is I literally write down, I say, this is what my desired result looks like. So what does it mean to have my priority as God? What does my day look like? What does my life look like, right? So I write it down. So I say, I wake up, I grab my coffee, and I sit for 30 minutes singing hymns and just talking with God. Then I move into my office, I pull out my daily devotional. I also read scriptures tied to the daily devotional because I desire to learn the word on a deeper level. I then take a few minutes and I ask God to direct me which book in the scripture to read, and I'll take some time to read that scripture and to sit and meditate with God. I like to read each book until completion. I love thanking God multiple times a day, and I make it a point to consult him on all daily decisions. Before I move to a task, I share with him what I'm going to do, and I ask him to add his guidance and his grace. I go to church weekly, and I also download a sermon or two daily and listen to them. I ask the boys daily what their God moments are during the day, and we share stories with each other. We as a family participate in at least one church event monthly. We decide as a family what we're going to do. The boys attend their own teenage classes monthly. This offers them an opportunity to bond with like-minded teens and can offer them help and guidance when tough peer pressure decisions have to be made. So that's in past shows. A great one to go back to is called Breakthrough, when we talked about experiencing a breakthrough. That's what the vision looks like, right? That's my vision for having my top value being God. So now out of that vision is now I extract action steps. So an example would be is, it's important for us to attend church weekly. First step is you would implement, maybe you don't even belong to a church. So the first step is to find a church that you want to go to. The next step is to have on your calendar that's what we do as a family. Sunday mornings, we go to church. Again, you're extracting, I'm giving you this as an example. So you can then start extracting, what are those action steps in order to have this vision happen? And the beautiful thing about all of this is that I don't want you to get so tied to the vision, because a lot of times you'll hear, right, life takes over, and what I thought this would look so much better. But this is a way for us to, let it happen and let how your value starts to shape, come alive. But you have to have that action in there. In order for you to have this happen and make it a priority. And so what you do is you do this for each. That's why my suggestion for people is to work on those 5. And again, too, now in 6 months, just to give you an example, is I will go back to those values and I'll do the priority action step again. I'll priority, make sure that they're still there. And then what I do is I rewrite this vision, because then my new action steps, my journey, right? My value with God is now with the ministry and everything happening so fast, it's changing, it's growing so fast and so with such depth that this vision for me is moving. It's constantly moving and changing, because what happens is we develop these habits that support this. And now my habits are in place, and now I want more, right? Now I want even a deeper relationship with God. Or if your value is health, now part of your action steps was to get to 3 classes a week. Now you've been doing that for 6 months. Now you want more, right? Now you transition. Now your body is evolving. Now I want 5 classes. Now I want different classes. Now I want to run a marathon. Now I want to do this. Now I want to do that. And it's just constantly evolving. But you feel so, I talked about that passion before. You're so involved in your life. You're so involved in your life, and it's a big part of it. It's such it's just wonderful. It's just so wonderful. And it really, I've been talking about values for so long, and I've been coaching on this so long, and it was so interesting for me to see and to experience that, as my values have been changing so quickly the past year, and seeing what's been happening, especially with the show, and having that conflict in myself, and seeing how it impacts you and your behavior and your actions and your words. And so I want you to be aware, when we compromise our values, it's really has a great consequence on us, right? Sometimes we do things, we compromise our values because we blame being busy. Sometimes we compromise our values because I know what's happened with me is that as I move into this new role, some people have become excluded, some people have become included, and change is hard, right? And relationships have ended and new relationships have started. And a move has happened for me. So much has happened. There's been so much change that we tend to want to pull back. We tend to want to go back to being comfortable. And we've talked about that on other shows about, moving out of your comfort zone and getting into that uncomfortable position, because that's where the, such beauty happens and such, evolving as individuals happen. So just be careful. Just, know that when you start to, embrace that change. And when, if people are going out of your life, or if you're really unhappy in a role in your life that you have, sit down and do this values exercise. Just look and take inventory of your life and see what's going on. It's a beautiful experience. It's, I share with you my testimony about how I've evolved and how this has changed me. And so I just want to give you, real life experience, and just know that everything really works out for your good. And it's wonderful to have these values in place and to grow and to become the person that you're going to become. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I love everyone who reaches out to me through email, jenniferzellup@yahoo.com or through Facebook Messenger. Everyone is always sharing with me about life experiences and what's going on. Please still continue to do so. And I'm so excited to bring a new show back and really see what God has planned for me and let that unfold. You've been listening to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio.
Thank you for listening to Thrive by Jen Radio on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Tune in live each Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, as Jen shares the action steps and real stories from people throughout the country that will ignite you to stand in confidence, love from within, and be unstoppable at fulfilling your dreams. For more information, podcast downloads, and to connect with Jen, visit JenniferZellup.com.